Hello, and welcome back to the All About That Action podcast. I am your host, Ashley Whaley. And today we are talking about a really fun topic, and that is delegation. So, I want you to really think about that word and what it means to you. I think it's going to mean something different to all of us business owners. But today, I really want you to focus on the power of delegation and what it could look like to really free up your time so that you can focus on growth. So, I'm going to break it kind of into two categories just so that way you can really kind of think about it in compartments, because that's kind of how my brain works. But I tend to compartmentalize our business and then our personal life. And so, if you can really even just sit down and make a list of things that maybe you could offload, that you could take off your plate, that somebody else could do, where it's really not your sweet spot, right? Like my sweet spot is not cooking. Cooking brings me zero joy. So, that is something that I have delegated to Avery. When it comes to cleaning up and dishes and those things, that is something that he has delegated to me. Well, that's a simple kind of silly example, but there are things within our life that we shouldn't be doing and that if we delegated them, we would literally have so much more time. There would be such less chaos and we would really be able to excel and really just strive and be able to hit those goals. So, for business, that might mean you need to hire somebody to manage your books, your bookkeeping. You might need to hire somebody to do your sales. Maybe sales is not a sweet spot and you're just finding that you're not really clicking with proper reach outs and really being able to connect and skyrocket those sales. So maybe you bring on somebody who can really focus on sales for you so that you can again get back to that sweet spot. Maybe it's you need to delegate your social media management. Maybe it's at home you need to hire a house cleaner, right? Maybe somebody to come in and really just take the stress and the load of keeping your home clean and tidy off of your plate. Maybe it's a landscaper. Maybe it's you can decide what it is that you need to delegate. But what I really want to hone in on is the why. Why would you choose to delegate these tasks? And what does that ROI look like, right? Like that is something that is important as well. Like if you're going to delegate something within your business or your personal life, what does that do for you? What does that do from a time perspective? What does that do from a mental peace of mind perspective? Those are all things that you want to consider. And so when you are focusing on delegating, think about again what that will do for you. And really, the first thing that comes to mind is when you take these things off your plate that just bring you zero joy, that just you're not great at them, that they're just not serving you, and somebody else could do it way better than you, way more efficiently. Think about what that could do for your growth. When you delegate tasks as a business owner, it really allows you to focus on those high impact activities like strategic planning, like networking, right? There's not a lot of people that can get out there and network specifically for your business the way that you do. Now, you could certainly train somebody that you really trust, that really understands your business, but in that kind of face to face personal connection, like that's you, that's the business owner. You really are your niche. I say niche. There's a lot of people that say niche. So sometimes I kind of want to mix it up. But anyway, there's not a lot of people that can really take your heart, your desire, and go out there and really network in the way that you can, right? As the business owner. Also, in the sweet spot, right, of business development, like you are the idea creator. You are the one that really has a pulse on what you want that business development to be. And you're really the one that is driving your company's growth, right? And so if you're constantly getting bogged down with the day to day, operations and just finding yourself like not really actually being able to work on your business versus being in your business, right? There's a big difference between working on your business and working in your business. When you're working on your business, you are focused on that growth. When you're working in your business, you are doing the work that's already come in, right? And so, in order to grow and excel and to hit those goals, you really want to be focused on working on your business. And it's a lot of fun, but honestly, it's it's hard. It's hard work to work on your business because it requires a different set of working tools, right? Like you're really using your mind, you're really getting those creative juices flowing, where sometimes it's just easier just to jump in and work in your business because the work's there, you do the work, and then you don't really have to do anything else. But when you're working on, that's really where that growth happens. So that's probably a whole just other topic, right? On versus in. But the kind of the second thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about delegating is just what it can do for your spirit, what it can do for just your mental load, right? It really can reduce stress and it can really prevent burnout. So when you decide that the time has come to delegate these tasks that you no longer want to do, what that's going to do is reduce stress and it's going to prevent burnout. And there's really not a price that you can put on that, right? Stress is the number one, well, I shouldn't say this as as a statistic, but from what I've heard, right, in the media, in just talking with just different people, stress is it's a killer. If you are constantly stressed all the time, and you are worried and you are anxious, that is just no way to live, which will lead to burnout, but can also lead to really a lot of terrible health challenges. And so if you're like at that point where you're like, man, I am stressed all the time, then that means it's definitely time to really sit down and look at your workload and figure out what you need to delegate. And burnout again is one of those things that you're hearing a ton of on social media, on podcasts. It's again kind of become one of those buzzwords, right? But it's real. It's real. And especially when you hear these, I'm a huge podcast listener, and there's a lot of just like leaders in the industry that I follow, especially in marketing. And when you hear their stories of burnout, where it's like they just work, 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 all it was work. They did all the things, they wore all the hats, and they built this amazing business, but they were finding no joy, right? There was no joy. All it was stress. Well, we don't want to get to that point. We want to achieve our goals in a peaceful state where we can, again, continue to grow and continue to elevate and continue to get out there and make an impact and be available for our family and be available for our friends and have fun, right? And if you're not having fun, what's the point? I mean, having fun is a core value of ours. But again, if you are just at that point where you're stressed and you're anxious and you're feeling burnt out, now is the perfect time to figure out what those tasks are that you need to delegate. And then just kind of the last thing that I want to touch on when the time has come for you to delegate is just the opportunity for you to really leverage your expertise. There is something unique about you. There is something unique and special about you that nobody else can replicate. And that is where your sweet spot is. That is what really sets you apart from anybody else in your industry. And so when you can take those tasks off your plate that just are not, again, in your wheelhouse, that are not really producing a growth result for you, or they're taking up way too much time, right? Whether it's like physical time or mental time, when you free that from your to do list, what that does is it allows you to leverage your expertise and really just hone in on what it is that you bring to the table, what it is that you offer your clients, what it is that your business does to drive a great result for the client. You can really solve your client's pain, and it's just a beautiful place to be. So I hope that this year you decide to just take some of those things off your plate. It might be an investment, right? It might cost you, it probably will. It's probably going to cost you some money, right? To delegate these things. When you're hiring somebody else to do things that you don't want to do, it is an investment, but then you have to really, again, go back and look at, okay, what is your time worth? If you were really operating at max capacity in a joyful state, what is that really worth to you? Right. And for most of us, it's like, man, I'm willing to invest whatever it takes, right? In order to grow and reach my goals and operate in that blissful state. So I just know that there's just amazing things ahead for 2025. I am so grateful to be able to share this space with you and to be able just to provide just my thoughts and some words of wisdom in my, almost 2 decades worth of entrepreneurism. I just love being a business owner and I love coming alongside busy business owners and just really helping them thrive, especially when it comes to growing their business through social media. So thank you for being here with me today. And I just hope you have